wrong number? Well, that's interesting.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, we should have gotten that. Well,
There was something I was going to ask you about.
what is this?
Hopefully it's just you, I don't know.
It is.
This plan,
Dude, change of vendors. Why not?
well, I know this one here, but wasn't there?
Yeah, it's a general government. That?
Yeah. Is that something we should have a workshop on?
We could. Maybe that's something we'd ask her.
Yeah,
So
instead of
we
approving this,
Hmm.
we have a workshop to find out how she makes her decisions on what she does and why she does it.
Well, she didn't think that Sarah approaches her. Okay, seeing it's 10 o'clock hour, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Del Norte and the governing body of all other special assessments and taxing districts for which said board so acts is now meeting in regular session. Only those items that indicate a specific time will be heard at the assigned time. All other items may be taken out of sequence to accommodate the public and staff availability. Supervisor McNamer, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, David.
Supervisor.
I've slowed it down.
Wow, okay. Are there any new employees to be introduced? Okay, seeing no new employees. Council, are there any portable actions from closed session?
Yes, there is. Today, the board, on a unanimous vote of 4 with 1 absence, elected to amend the decision that was made last week as to the chief probation officer, changing it to leave with pay and a reassignment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, are there any deletions, corrections, or additions from board members to the agenda at this time? In order to add an item to the agenda, the matter must have come to the attention of the county subsequent to the posting of the agenda, and the matter requires action before the next regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. Okay, seeing no additions or corrections, at this point, we'll now hear any brief reports and announcements from board members related to programs, projects, travels, and committees. Supervisor McNamer, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'm short and sweet. I like my daily planner at home, but everybody knows pretty much what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Hemmingson.
Yeah, I had a few meetings. Of course, we had the Del Norte Solid Waste Authority meeting. I went to the Cindy Henderson put on Cal-EMA private-public partnership disaster planning, I don't know, convention, presentation, I guess. Very interesting. I wasn't able to stay for the whole thing, but I did have a business partner sit in for me, so it was pretty interesting, and everything that they had to say was pretty valuable information. Had a 2x2 with Smith River Rancheria on 2 road projects in the Smith River area, one of them being the traffic calming project on 101. I went to a presentation that Betty T. Yee from the State Board of Equalization put on. She discussed a little bit about Prop 30 and the state responsibility area fee, just information, not whether it was good, bad, or whatever, but just what their position was in it and their play in it. So they just collect the money, I guess. Drove to Sacramento, had a 5-county salmonid meeting. The fishing game has the 5-county salmonid organization at a funding level that is lower than what they really need to be. They're more in implementation, and so we kind of wanted the director to change that, and he's was very receptive. He knows what good work the 5-county salmonid does as far as removing fish barriers and sediment reduction and just a myriad of things. But I did get a chance to meet with Charlton Bonham, interesting guy. I did ask to have a meeting with him after that meeting was over, which he accepted, and we talked about a little bit about the Dungeness crab season, on the testing, how the testing works out, and also sports fishing. And he was didn't have a lot of knowledge on that, but he said he would get with staff and he would work on that. So that was good. It was a good meeting, a long drive, but a good meeting. Met with CDD staff on the MOU we have with solid waste. They don't seem to be funding the MOU that we have with them for code enforcement. So we're kind of looking at a way to make that happen. And on a personal matter, my boat's been on the ways here locally for the last 3 months, and it's finished up and back in the water, so we're ready to go back to work again. So the big stream of outflow maybe will become inflow shortly. We had a couple of special closed session meetings that I made. Had a meeting with staff and Supervisor Finnegan at the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority on some mitigation issues. Had a local transportation commission meeting. Supervisor Sullivan and I had a coordination meeting with the Forest Service regarding Red Mountain, travel management, forest management, watershed management, all those things, and our road to Goose Creek, which nothing got settled, but we did have the meeting. And that was about it for me.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Finnegan.
Yeah, attended some of the meetings that have already been mentioned. In addition to that, we had tri-agency meeting talking about the contracts that were in place and how to wind down, and then of course how to redefine or redirect the efforts of tri-agency going forward in the future. Economic development, and also talking about Visitors Bureau and Chamber of Commerce, just all the outgoes and maybe ways of partnering better there. Had the airport JPA meeting, well attended. Everybody was there, keeping mainly our focus on the timelines of what it's going to take to ensure that we begin, that all the permits are in place, the environmentals are done, and that we begin I don't know, turning the spades in the ground, or whatever you want to say, that the pound the nails whenever we can come springtime, not only on the RSA project, but on the terminal project. So everything looks good so far, but if you don't monitor that stuff going forward on a weekly basis, it's very easy to fall behind. I also participated in a couple of closed sessions of the Board of Supervisors, met with Supervisor Hemmingson and a few others out at the airport to talk about mitigation to make sure that we were on line with that. So that didn't slow the projects down. Then had a couple of trips to Sacramento, invited by the governor to be part of his entourage for his election night Prop 30. Counties, CSAC, were one of his allies and have been working on the constitutional guarantees for some time, so it was nice to reaffirm with the governor that yes, we were one of the ones that stood behind you, stood beside you, and that partnership will continue. Then also made a trip down to Sacramento with the State Association officers to meet with our new executive director. We stole our new executive director from the governor's cabinet. The new executive director of the State Association of Supervisors is Matt Cate. Now Matt, so you probably recognize the name, was the Secretary of Corrections, Director of Department of Corrections, first under Governor Schwarzenegger and then most recently under Governor Brown. So the whole game has changed at CSAC to where now we have somebody that had been an insider on the cabinet. So the discussions and the lobbying are going to be a lot more hands-on, and rather than reactionary at CSAC, we will be working to develop more programs. We'll be working with Realignment 2013 and be at the table as we have been before, but with a much greater presence and with an insider now. So really looking forward to some of the great direction that the State Association is going to take. And of course, the light shines on Delaware County there too. So that was about it.
All right, thank you. It's been a busy few weeks here. Attended, they had Smith River Fire Department had a recruitment session out at the Hiuchi Fire Hall, just because they're looking for additional fire staff just to make sure they're manned up in Hiuchi. And it was a good meeting, pretty informative. Attended a Del Norte Solid Waste Management meeting. Attended the same meeting Supervisor Hemmingson did on the North Coast Emergency Meeting, public-private partnership that Cindy Henderson put on, and Calema was very well attended. Attended a 2x2 meeting with Supervisor Hemmingson and Smith River Rancheria, and talking about their road projects on North and South Indian Road. A very good project, and we're looking forward to having some things in place to help that push that along. Attended the same meeting Supervisor Hemmingson on Betty Yee, our representative on the Board of Equalization, was here as an informational only type meeting. Went out to look at some stuff that's been happening with Gilbert Creek, at some constituents' requests on both sides of the creek, literally. And CAO Serena came with me on that one also. Some interesting stuff's been happening out there. Attended the Treasury Oversight Committee, attended the Tri-Agency meeting, sat in Supervisor Hemmingson's place on the Border Coast Airport Authority meeting. It's good to see that project still going along. I think a lot of people, and I'm sure the board would reiterate this, a lot of people don't understand there are projects, they don't happen really quick, but they are being pushed along. And I think the community as a whole, there's 199, the airport, broadband, wastewater treatment plant. Those things are happening, and in some cases have been completed. It's just, I think sometimes the community, if you're not in meetings on a regular basis and not seeing that, you just are unaware. So if somebody brings it to your attention, you're like, wow, that's been dropped. A lot of these things are being pushed forward, so especially infrastructure improvements. Attended a couple board meetings, emergency meetings regarding personnel issues. Attended the local transportation commission meeting. Had a coordination meeting with the U.S. Forest Service and Supervisor Hemmingson, and we discussed Red Mountain and the big issues and big concerns we have with that communication site not being renewed after 2022, how a lot of coverage will be lost, cell phone towers, and we're talking public health and safety, which is a huge concern for us, as well as reiterating that we need to have the road to Goose Creek to our county property fixed, which that road is Forest Service road, so we can't fix that, but we need the road fixed so we can get to the 17 acres that are county property at this point, and allow the public to access that. Attended the Veterans Day Parade. Had at my office, we had like a coffee and cake type thing. It's always good to recognize the veterans. I kind of wish it had happened during the week, because I think the attendance would have been a little bit better, but it's always, I think, a very good thing to remember those folks that put their lives on the line, and the family members that make the sacrifices also. Got a really good tour yesterday of the Big Rock Community Water District and the improvements they've made out there. Some really impressive, Craig Bradford had given me the tour, and they've gotten some really good grants and begun to put some infrastructure stuff and looking at replacing the tank up on the hill. It was really impressive actually on that. Also attended the birthday dinner over the weekend for the local Catholic priest, Father Adam, and that was an interesting Polish theme for the dinner. So it was a lot of fun on that. Probably on the last thing, on a personal thing, took my son trick-or-treating. I don't know how many more trick-or-treating I have left in me at this point, but we went to local churches and then also did Vipon Drive, and so I got to follow my son as the Men in Black, and then his buddies Bryce as the Grim Reaper and Gabe as General Grievous, which if you're not familiar who General Grievous is, you need to watch the Star Wars movie. So, other than that, I was soaked. So it was good old-fashioned Crescent City, Delaware County Halloween. So, other than that, we will go on to hearing brief report now from our County Administrative Officer.
I was able to participate in Halloween also.
Excellent.
I wore rain gear. A couple of projects that we continue to work on, and one of these is on the agenda today for a short contract extension. Point St. George on the coastal trail. We're still collaborating over mitigation for wetlands and sensitive species, and we will be asking for an extension of time through the end of February at this point to try to get some resolution to the Phase 1. Battery Point, there's a project on for an extension of the contract so that we can actually finish up the painting of the cables for the lightning suppression system, and that would be the end of that project, and a very successful project. Also, we would be relieving the contractor of taking out the historical mercury vapor switches that are in there so they can retain the historical value. But become a very, very good project. Been negotiating contracts with public defenders and having meetings with our jail nursing over their contract. Have met with airport staff over some issues and projects out at the airport. Working on department head evaluations, and have been meeting with the city and harbor over tri-agency and economic development the future of economic development. We've had some changes. Continuing health plan meetings over potential and actual changes to our health plan with our broker, and dealing with miscellaneous administrative functions for both admin and CDD.
All right, thank you. Okay, so at this point, I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any public comment on items on the consent agenda only? Okay, seeing no public comment, I will bring it back. Supervisor Hampton.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. We're changing contractors.
Which item are we talking?
Number 7, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
changing contractors. But on a temporary basis, I was a little bit confused that we're going to try another agency out. And then can we do that and still be are we under contract with 2 companies then?
I got the county treasurer here to.
Cool.
Yes. The County Collections Department is not really satisfied with our current third-party vendor. We recognize that the accounts that they're collecting on are a challenge. So this other agency, I had met with this gentleman a couple of times over the years at conferences and such, and he has a reputation of being able to get blood out of a turnip, so to speak. So I kind of want to put him to the test. Like I said, I know our accounts are hard to collect on. So he was willing to, instead of changing everything over, he was willing to say, hey, give me a chance to prove to you that I can do better than who you have currently. I thought, great. So I would like to do that, give him the opportunity to prove that he can do better than our current vendor, and then I would just, if he can, then I would certainly like to just give him everything that we have.
So that isn't in conflict with the contract that we've got?
Well, I spoke with county council, and everything seems to be appropriate to go ahead and do this.
Okay, so we can actually have 2 contractors. There isn't exclusive, it's not an exclusive contract then?
The original contract was not, that I recollect, exclusive. And basically, I also think it's very close to being expired if it's not already.
Right.
So it seems to me, was it expired already?
Yeah, we could come out of the contract with GC Services currently if we wanted to, so.
So it doesn't seem to pose any particular conflicts.
Okay, I was just curious about that. And as long as you're right there, since I did have a minor question on number 8, this is for credit card payments, official
Payments is a company we use or allow the public to use to make credit card payments, yes. And they have new payment options, and one of the things that they are offering is something called MoneyGram, where it's people that actually don't pay by credit card but have cash to pay. They can go to a Walmart, or there's a facility, I believe, down in Klamath, that they have, they want to make a payment for taxes and or collections accounts or whatever. They can pay cash, and then those funds come through to us through this official payments. And so I wanted to just renew our contract with them to allow for those updated options.
And my understanding from the last time we talked about this takes a special entity to do this? I mean, they have to be some sort of certification or something, or?
Credit card people, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, not just any credit, you can't.
Right.
you
These are
can't-
just people that I've worked with, and I'm happy with them, and would like to
Okay,
continue to
and
use
did
their
we
services.
get competitive bids or anything on doing this?
Well, it doesn't cost the county anything. It's something, and most of the companies that are out there that offer credit card services are pretty comparable. I mean, they're about the same as far as the rates that they charge and everything. So I did not go out.
It does
to
not
an-
cost the county?
No.
Oh,
The cost goes to the customer.
Yeah. The customers, if they choose to use that service,
Okay.
are imposed a small.
well, I just wondered if there was more competitive services
Sure.
out there is all. Thanks, Don.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions on consent agenda items?
Well, my 2 cents worth is the competition is being able to deliver. It's all money in.
Right.
And if somebody's not getting money in, you can find somebody else to get more money in.
Right.
Well, I think this on the processing thing, though, the question comes up, though, on the cost to the individual user to actually use, so. Okay, unless there's any other comments from board members. Tony, could you please poll the vote?
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor McNamer?
Yes.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan?
Yes, minus number 2, 11, and 13, I have a conflict of interest on. Okay, so moving on in, just a quick note, I do want to congratulate the Future Facilities Group and Director Blatnick on, as well as CAO Serena and Assistant Lopez, and everyone else mentioned in that you guys did a great job on renegotiating the lease, and we want to thank you for continuing that. I'm glad that's done and on, so yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so moving on to budget transfers.
I move to approve budget transfer 11-01, 11-02, items 21 and 22 on our agenda.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment on the budget transfers? Seeing no public comment, Tony, could you please pull the vote?
Supervisor McNamer?
Yes.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan?
Yes. Okay, at this point, we're still shy of public comment, so let's go, well, we're going to be taking a long break here, too. Let's go ahead and take the general government item 26, review and approve the treasurer's 2013 statement of investment policy and adopt the resolution of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Del Norte delegating investment authority to the county treasurer as requested by the treasurer tax collector.
You're up again.
Okay, so I was asked to provide a brief report on the investment activity for the period of July through September. So the summer months tend to have little funds coming in until later in August, when school appropriation funds start to come in, as well as our tax dollars, because a lot of times we'll get the tax bills out in September. In August, we had a security called. I provided sheets. It's number 165 on your July sheet. We turned around and purchased in September a federal home loan mortgage bond. It's number 166 on your sheet, earning 1%. In addition, we also purchased a GE Capital CD. And also in September, we had another security call that was within the mitigation funds. These funds are currently in LAIF, as the Proactive Financial Committee would like to use $500,000 of this for internal financing to help reduce costs for other departments. That's something we're currently working on and will come before you at a later date. As CD returns remain a little bit more attractive, the remainder of those funds will most likely go into CDs. The majority of the mitigation funds remain in CalTrust, as the earnings there are close to what you can get if you go out to a 3- or 4-year bond. During this quarter, the interest earnings were as follows. LAIF was $8,218.77. The CalTrust general account was $6,749.85. CalTrust mitigation was $10,045.21, and bond earnings were $14,575.34. Total interest earnings for the quarter were $39,589.17. And in the month of October, we purchased another bond, a 4-year bond, and a Fannie Mae step bond, and then a 4-year CD. So that's my report.
Any questions, Supervisor?
The CalTrust, that's the, you're using the short term,
Medium term.
medium term?
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, Supervisor Hamilton?
Yeah, I wished I understood this a little better, and I was wondering if at some point we could have a workshop in how you decide which bonds or which securities you buy for the county, in the county's best interest. I mean, the interest does not seem to be very much for the amount of money that's out there. The income doesn't seem, I don't know if there's anything better. I'm certainly,
rough out
it's out of
there.
my, it's out of
sure.
my,
Not much.
it's out of
So,
my
yeah,
expertise, and I don't know how to get the expertise, but if we could at some point have a workshop or something where the board could be involved in how you decide what you're going to do and what you can do.
That can be arranged. Like I said, yield is not always the number one priority. Safety of the county's funds are the biggest priority, and
Well,
the
certainly.
liquidity of those funds.
We don't want to go backwards, but in some of these rates, you know, with just inflation, we're going backwards. So, I mean,
I don't have any control over the rates. It's rough
Right.
out there. I'm sure
Yeah.
Supervisor Sullivan can attest to that.
The rates are really low, Supervisor.
And I think that workshop's a great idea because I don't think anybody's questioning the safety here, but there are things that are just as safe, like CalTrust. But yet, if we have 30% of our investments in CalTrust, which yields anywhere from 0.75% to higher or more than LAIF does, why do we have the least amount invested in that and more in LAIF? And it's stuff like that I'm sure a workshop will point out to
Yeah,
us.
it's a liquidity issue. I mean, you know, the county needs to have several $1 million available on a monthly basis to.
But CalTrust
but-
medium is a
but-
30-day call, so that's...
Right, but we don't want all of our eggs in one basket either, but yes.
That's not what I was saying. I was saying, let's put most of our eggs in the basket that has the highest yield.
Well, I think in a couple things that did come out of the Treasurer oversight is one of the things is, and it was Proactive Financial, was looking at the internal financing, so we can get a little better yield for the for the mitigation funds, as well as a cheaper rate of interest for what the county usually finances. So this is kind of a creative within the boundaries of the investment policy, but at the same time it will help on both sides. Secondary, I think the other thing that came out as a recommendation to post the investments on the website, which is good. Transparency is always really good on that.
Yeah,
And
we're working on that.
I think the last thing was the cash flow statement, because I think that's been, you know, obviously in this type of times, we need to know what the cash flow concerns are, and so some positive things have come out of that. So, and I appreciate the update on that. That's especially having the information in advance. So, any other questions from supervisors?
Move to approve the investment policy.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any public comments? Okay, seeing no public comment, Tony, could you please poll the vote?
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor McNeamer?
Yes.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, we are moving on to public comment now. So the timed item that was at 10:25 is members of the public may address the board on matters which are within the jurisdiction of the board. If you are addressing the board regarding a matter listed on the agenda, you may be asked to hold your comments until the board takes up that matter. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and say your name into the microphone and identify yourself. Any public comment? Wow, this is going to be, these timed items are we may need a half-hour break just to get caught up on the timed items here.
We're not done yet.
Okay, so I'm going to close public comment, and we'll go on to item 27, review and provide possible feedback regarding the local planning council for child care and development as requested by the local planning council coordinator. Doreen? Oh. Sorry, we just...
And Council for Child Care and Development. And you have before you the annual report. We had a public meeting. We were in compliance in all areas, but we like to submit it to our two entities, the County Board of Supervisors and the County Superintendent of Schools, to see if there's any more comments. I'm going to have Amira just hand this out to you. This is our countywide child care plan that's in process right now that we're doing. And I also want to introduce to you Amira Long.
Thank you.
She's our first 5 Service Corp Vista, serving with LPC for Child Care and Development. And she's doing work with LPC and First 5 Del Norte, and she's going to be helping me this year with our needs assessment for child care that's due every 5 years, and also our economic impact report that we did about 5 years ago, helping to update that. And I want to thank Supervisor Finnegan, who serves as a commissioner on our First 5 Del Norte, for allowing Amira to come and help us at LPC. And so just give her just a couple minutes to just introduce herself.
You might pull the mic down. There you go.
Thank you. My name is Amira Long. We've lived in Del Norte County since 2004. We moved here from Arizona because we didn't like the heat, so we came to the right place. I studied peace, war, and diplomacy at Norwich University in Vermont, which prepared me a little bit for the sibling wars between my daughters, who are 5 and 7. We used to own an educational toy store up in the Brookings Harbor before my kids were school age, and then we closed that so I can be a mom. I've been serving as a First 5 Service Corps Vista since August 30th. I've supported the local planning council and the local child care providers in their professional development efforts, registering them for trainings and whatnot. I've updated the First 5 resource guide, and I've been the voice of the First 5 Facebook page and the monthly newsletter, which I also handed out to you. I'm working on the child care needs assessment, and I've been just started working on the emergency disaster plan booklet for child care providers. And I welcome all feedback and ideas. If you'd like to get a hold of me, my contact information is on the bottom of the 4th page of the newsletter. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
welcome.
Welcome.
And did you have any feedback for us for LPC, our annual report?
At this point, any supervisors, comments?
No, I keep up the good work.
Okay, thank you.
Partnerships, excellent.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. At this point, we are going to public comment on, we didn't really take any action at all. It was just a presentation. Do you have, on the planning count, that's what you have. Okay. Public comment passed at 10:25. You're at, I don't know what to tell you. No, there's not a special Richard Miles public comment time, so I apologize that it passed. Okay, so we're going to go on to item 28. Supervisor McNamara, if you could take over on item 28, because I have a conflict of interest on it.
Okay. This item, number 28, directs staff to negotiate a contract extension with Del Norte Ambulance as requested by County Administrative Officer.
The county received a request from Del Norte Ambulance some months ago in order to move forward with their planning for their company. It's a 5-year request that would extend the current contract that terminates in 2012 to 2017. And today, staff has been doing some research over the previous contracts and extensions. But today we're asking just for direction to go forward to negotiate a contract extension with Del Norte Ambulance and take back any feedback that the board may have at this point to take into consideration during that process.
Well, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would ask that you, on behalf of the board, direct staff to enter and continue the negotiations with Del Norte Ambulance.
And I would agree.
We have
So
a-
taken. The Del Norte Ambulance's officials are here if you have any questions also.
We don't,
No, I don't want to negotiate with them.
this is just a, Jay, this is just a direction
It
for
is.
staff. We don't need a vote.
Just direction at this point.
Okay.
Right.
Do they-
If we get into specific questions on negotiations, we will discuss those
Okay.
with the board in closed session.
Then that item is done.
Just as a heads up, they have asked that we try to get this done by the end of the year, and we have been delaying it only in the sense that there have been other issues that have popped up, and this is one of those that has not been the highest of the priorities because it's an extension, but we'll try to get something done before the end of the year.
Okay.
And I'm sure they'll cooperate with you. Very good.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to go into, you have public comment on the ambulance contract? Okay, so we're not done with this item. Go ahead, Leslie. You can-
Oh, sorry.
If I'm understanding something, and I may not, but I think there's a legal issue here. You are extending a contract or a franchise to our local,
Richard, we didn't extend it. We agreed to move forward on studying whether or not we are going to extend it.
The board directed staff to negotiate, Richard.
okay. The legal question that I have, the ambulance company operates both in the county and the city. You are negotiating a further contract, which is a franchise to these people. Who gave you the authority to negotiate for the city?
The law does.
You better have an interpretation of the city attorney about that, because I know in larger jurisdictions, there's more than
Asked and
one
answered.
ambulance companies.
Thank you, Richard. Is there any further public comment on this item? Hearing none, we will move on. You'll come back, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, moving on to, is item 30, is that still, is the appellant here for that? The Board of Equalization hearing or not on Park? They canceled. So we're going to go ahead and, I guess, do we need to table that or what's the actual procedural?
Need to open it, table it.
Okay, so at this point, we'll adjourn as the Board of Supervisors, reconvene as the Board of Equalization, and conduct a public hearing for a change of assessment, parcel number 101-082-07, year 2011-12, for Park as the appellant. And at this point, I think we can just go ahead and continue it to the next meeting. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we will continue that hearing. So we're going to adjourn as the Board of Equalization and reconvene as the Board of Supervisors, and the next timed item is until 10:50. We'll go to item 29, consider miscellaneous legislative and budget matters pertinent to the County of Del Norte. Authorize the chair to sign and send appropriate letters with respect to matters pending before the state or federal governments. Jay?
Today, we don't have any letters pending and any requests for support or otherwise for legislation. Budget-wise, we will be returning before the board either in December or January with mid-years after doing our review, and then coming forward with any issues that might have occurred during the last 3 months, because the budget was obviously, well, 2 to 3 months, was approved October. So at this point, have no additional further report.
Okay. Okay, so, yeah. The 10:50 timed item? I know you are, but it's a timed item, so we're...
The applicant was not going to be here.
Okay, well, I'm going to say I am not going to necessarily take your word for it, so we're going to stick with the timed item just for legal purposes. So, thanks anyway, I appreciate it.
We're ready for the 10:50.
Yeah,
item
we've been
also.
ready for the 10:50 for a while, so, at this point, any other items to bring up that are not timed items on the agenda?
Doesn't look like it.
Looks like we're gonna have a 10-minute recess then, so.
You already do the 29?
Yep, we just did that.
All right.
Do you have anything you want to add to
No,
29?
no.
Are you sure? Like a good
No,
10-minute?
Nope, I
Yeah,
just keep
that's
your
good.
eyes out for 2013. We're gonna be going through a new phase of realignment that has to do with mental health and social services, and we're at the table.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to adjourn until 10:50, which is the next timed item on the board's agenda. kind of roll towards the start, restart up the meeting here. We are going to go to item 31 in the agenda, timed item 10:50. We are going to adjourn as the Board of Supervisors, reconvene as the Board of Equalization, and conduct a public hearing for the change of assessment, parcel number 116-270-09, year 2011-12. The appellant is Sandry. So the public hearing is now open. I will now open the public hearing. If you wish to speak, please step up to the clerk's table and use the sheet provided to sign your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please use the microphone so that your comments may be heard while people are signing up here. So, any speakers? Yeah.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter, now pending before this board, will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Okay, my name's Steve Hart, and I'm with the Delaware County Assessor's Office. And when we had left off with this one, we had a piece of paper that Mrs. Sandry given to us, and we've had the legal staff at the State Board of Equalization review it. And what they found was that what we had in contention was Tracy Singletary's ownership of the property when she had given it to her mother. And what they had found is she had, by that paper, 100% ownership of it. So at that point, there was no reappraisal. So what our office has done is we've gone back, undone all the tax bills, and Mrs. Sandry, she's been informed of this. So at this point, there's nothing to appeal.
Okay. Excellent.
Good job.
Good. Thank you,
Yes.
Steve. All right, that's...
Anything else?
Any public comments? Seeing no public comment? Well, that's good news. Okay, so going on to... Oh, wow. Okay, so now we're going to take another...
Who set up the timed items?
I don't know. We'll talk to the... I didn't set the timed items. We are going to take another break because our next timed item is 11:05. So we're going to take a 12-minute break and somebody go run for coffee, I guess. Yeah. All right.
One more speaker.
We'll see you back at 11:05. Okay, we're past our second recess, or third recess break, so we're going to go back into the next timed item, which is 11:05. This is item 24 on the agenda, informational update on the North Coast MPA monitoring planning from the MPA Monitoring Enterprise, a program of the California Ocean Science Trust. By the way, you could use the full 15 minutes because we have another time item.
John, I was going to keep it short and sweet for you guys. Well, good morning. I'll start by saying good morning. My name is Liz Whiteman. I serve as the Program Director of the Marine Protected Areas Monitoring Enterprise, as you mentioned, a program of the California Ocean Science Trust. Just before I begin with a brief presentation, I wanted to acknowledge the team members that I have present with me today. Dr. Tess Freidenberg, Senior Scientist at the Monitoring Enterprise. Dr. Erin Meyer, Associate Scientist with the Monitoring Enterprise. And Kelly Sace, Principal at Strategic Earth Consulting. So on behalf of myself and my colleagues, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be in Crescent City on a wonderful wintry morning on the North Coast to share some information and to engage in a discussion and answer questions about marine protected area monitoring planning. While this is the first time meeting many of you, we have been working closely with Supervisor McClure for approximately the last 4 months, and I very much enjoyed meeting Supervisor Finnegan in Sacramento a couple of months ago. What I'd like to do this morning is to take a couple of moments to share some background information about who we are and the work that we do, but then principally move into updates, some of the more recent progress on our work in the North Coast specifically. So then, turning straight into background information, a little bit about who we are and what we do. The California Ocean Science Trust is not itself a governmental entity. We're a nonprofit public benefit corporation, and we have a sole mission. We're dedicated to ensuring that rigorous and inclusive science is used to support ocean resource and stewardship decisions. The Monitoring Enterprise is a program within the Ocean Science Trust, or a team within the Ocean Science Trust. We work closely with a number of partners, including the state, principally through the Ocean Protection Council and the Department of Fish and Game, to design and implement a monitoring or an evaluation program for this new emerging statewide network of marine protected areas that's been put in place to protect marine life, habitats, essentially the health of California's oceans. We're not responsible for collecting the data. Believe me, I miss the days of diving, going out and conducting the monitoring myself. But that responsibility actually lies with a consortium or a collaboration of different partners through the state. We hope to build a program that will allow tribes, communities, citizen science groups, academic groups to come together to collect the rigorous information that will evaluate these marine protected areas. So our responsibility is to design that program in a way that it offers those opportunities for partnerships and collaborations, and then to make sure that the information is provided in a way that it can support the adaptive management and future decision-making about these marine protected areas. There's additional detail, background information, as it is useful to you, that I believe was included in your information packet, and I'm happy at any time to answer questions on anything within that. But turning then to the specifics of the North Coast and our work since about June or July this year in this region. So marine protected areas in this region are anticipated to take effect early next year, so early 2013. This is actually a pretty important time point. It's an opportunity for us to document ocean conditions at this time, and also to understand the trends and changes that have led to this particular time window. We often refer to this as the benchmark or baseline, and this offers a foundational kind of understanding of this time point that we will always have to refer back to. So as conditions change, influenced by many drivers in the oceans, this time point, this kind of time zero with the MPAs, if we can document that and provide that information, we will always have that to look back upon in years hence. As many of you, I believe you are probably aware, the California Ocean Protection Council has authorized $4 million to support a North Coast MPA baseline program, the program that will collect the data to establish this benchmark, both ecological and socioeconomic. Now, the program itself, just by way of logistical details, is a collaboration of the Ocean Science Trust, the Department of Fish and Game, the Ocean Protection Council, and California Sea Grant. And it's our collective responsibility to build a program that meets the needs of the North Coast region and provides that scientifically strong understanding of baseline or benchmark ocean conditions at this time. So to do this, a set of monitoring projects will be selected through a competitive request for proposals process. And this is one of the things that we have been working closely with Supervisor McClure and representatives from the other boards of supervisors, together with tribes and tribal communities and many of the constituents in the North Coast community, to design and implement this RFP process that will build and launch the baseline program. What I'd like to turn to now is providing you with 4 principal updates on this process, things that have happened in the last couple of weeks that we would like to share with you and more broadly with the North Coast community. Beginning with a team of North Coast community liaisons. So one of the things that we heard very early on in our engagement in the North Coast is the need and indeed the value of having boots on the ground, local representatives that would be able to work closely with us and share a lot more information with the team to support the development of the RFP and then subsequently to support the development of new collaborations and partnerships for actually conducting the monitoring. So I'm very pleased to be able to tell you that the California Ocean Science Trust, we have been working very hard and have secured resources to enable us to contract a small team of North Coast community liaisons. We will be reaching out to the former North Coast Regional Stakeholder Group, the group that was principally involved in the planning of the marine protected areas, to solicit expressions of interest in being a member of this North Coast Community Liaison team. I think members of this, the RSG, that group, have a proven success in mobilizing the community and also bringing the community together, forming those new kinds of partnerships and collaborations that haven't been seen before. So as we work with this team, we will work very closely to make sure that the request for proposals itself, before its release, is reflective of the needs and priorities of the North Coast region. One of the things that we've heard is a desire for strong local partnerships and engagement in this program. So we'll be working with the North Coast Community Liaison team to develop evaluation criteria that favor and actually facilitate the development of those local partnerships and collaborations. Moving to the second of my 4 main updates. One of the things that we have been deeply appreciative of is the welcome that we've received from the North Coast tribes and the opportunities that we've had to engage and learn from the tribes. And we very much appreciate the deep knowledge that exists within those communities. And happy to be able to say that we have compared to the other regions where a baseline program is launched, we've been able to include traditional ecological knowledge within the scope of the baseline program. And we're continuing conversations with the tribes to make sure that we adequately and appropriately respect that knowledge, but find ways that it can be a rigorous and an important part of this baseline program. The third update, which then ties very closely to the fourth, is that we will be conducting, and this is an unusual step, a public review of a draft version of the RFP. So once we've had the opportunity to build this RFP with our partners and with this North Coast Community Liaison team, we will then release this draft for a public review, public comment period before releasing a final version. This gives us that extra step of ensuring that it is as rigorous as possible in meeting the needs of the North Coast community. Now, that particular step, together with some of the others, they do have knock-on effects for the timeline. So that's really the fourth update, is to share some updated information about the timeline for the development and implementation of this program. We have extended or deferred, if you like, the expected release date of the request for proposals to make sure that we have that additional time for collective input and collective building of the RFP. And we anticipate that the RFP now will be released in early next year. In addition to that, well, we've also are planning to extend the time available for people to come together to develop the proposals in response to that request for proposals. And rather than the 8 weeks that's been available in the other regions, we are planning on a 14 to 16 week open period for this RFP. Now, it's perhaps important to acknowledge that does lead to a little bit of a trade-off, if you like. We are very conscious that this could extend the process such that awards are made, the selected funding projects, towards the end of 2013. And so we're working closely with the North Coast community to kind of think about what that means in terms of whether data is collected in the first year that the MPAs are established, or whether that has to be deferred until the second year following establishment of the MPAs. So this is the kind of balancing act that we're playing, and look forward to continuing to work with everybody on. So then just a couple of closing thoughts. We are committed to continuing to work very closely with the Del Norte Board of Supervisors together with the Humboldt and Mendocino Boards of Supervisors. We have extended an invitation, this is something we were discussing with Supervisor McClure last week, to all 3 county boards to participate in a conference call with us in the next week or so that we can all come together to iron out some of the details of this process. And I appreciate any further guidance and input you would like to have on how the Del Norte Board of Supervisors would like to engage with us on that process.
So should we consider that a formal invitation to participate in the conference call?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And then just one quick thing. Last week we launched a new newsletter, an electronic newsletter, the North Coast Update. So the first issue went out on Friday. And if anyone would like to receive that and hasn't, please do let me or my team know, and we'd be happy to sign you up for that. This is a way that we hope to be able to share monthly updates with the community and make sure that everybody is aware of the opportunities to work closely with us and with the new liaison team. So with that, I'll close and thank you, and be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned something about a packet. I didn't get a packet with my packet, so I don't know where the packet is.
I don't have a packet
anyway, either. You did a great job of explaining. What I was curious about in these requests for proposals is, are you starting out with a proposal? I mean, you've already put out proposals for the other areas, is that right? Requests for proposals in other areas. Are you going to start with that proposal and then have the group tweak it to fit this area more? Is that what the plan is? Or are you going to want these groups to come up with a whole proposal on their own, or this group, or whatever?
So it's probably helpful to divide this into 2 different time steps. The process to develop the actual document, the request for proposals, and then the process for the community to come together to respond to that. And we're starting with a blank sheet of paper for the North Coast development of the request for proposals. And we look forward to working with the North Coast Community Liaison team to say, what should go into that? How do we incorporate the needs and priorities of the North Coast community? And how do we set that up in a way that facilitates people being able to respond to that request for proposals?
And this request for proposals, is this just to set the benchmark? Is this the initial?
That's correct.
This is the initial proposal to study these areas, these MPAs, to set the benchmark for further studies down the road. This has nothing to do with any further studies down the road. This is just the benchmark. Is that correct?
That's correct. I will just add that the principal and primary focus is to set that benchmark, ecological and socioeconomic.
Right.
There is the opportunity within this time period, because it will be 2 to 3 years of data collection, to look at any immediate or initial changes that occur inside or outside of the marine protected areas. But the prime focus, exactly as you expressed.
Okay.
Oh, you had another question?
Did I understand you right that there will be liaisons chosen from each county that is under this study?
We are planning to make sure that, so we will issue a solicitation for expressions of interest for this liaison team, and certainly ensuring representation across the North Coast region is of prime importance to us. We also want to make sure that these liaisons offer an opportunity for community building between traditionally separate groups, so perhaps the academic scientists together with fishermen or citizen science groups, just by way of one example.
Thank you.
And if I may add, I do have some materials with me that, if I had understood, were included, and if not, I'd be happy to share those with you.
I do think it's worth mentioning that the importance of having local involvement just for the success of the MPA, because if you don't have local involvement, you won't, the enforcement, the data collection won't be accurate. So, Supervisor.
Well, and that, I think, might have been the initial focus, and I think the way it was addressed was that don't worry about that, you'll get plenty of chance to have local involvement. First we're going to do the RFP, and that's going to be the science. And what I'm hearing now is that you're finally hearing our initial message was, no, we need to be involved in developing the RFP. You need not take the one that you used for Southern California and apply it up here. And as well as when the contract is awarded, $4 million is a lot of money, and most definitely, especially with Humboldt State and their marine biology or whatever, oceanic studies, definitely the expertise is in the North Coast to be a provider. So, and I know that you want to have that, I don't know what you'd call it, not the safety net, but to make sure that the process doesn't get polluted by having somebody that might be applying for the job also get to define the benchmark. We know that doesn't happen in Southern California. But, all fears aside, I think that the process can work. But the message for myself, I know the colleagues in Mendocino County, and especially Supervisor McClure, is we need to be involved early on, and let's write an RFP that does not exclude people from the North Coast being able to be the ones that get the scientific data. But it looks like you're on that direction, so good work.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
I'm not sure if I took the 15 minutes, but
Yeah.
hopefully I helped out.
You're pretty good. Any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing no public comment, I will close that, and we'll go right on to our next timed item. Item 25 in the agenda packet, waive the full reading, read in title only, and adopt ordinance of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Del Norte authorizing an amendment to the contract between the Board of Supervisors and the County of Del Norte and the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System as requested by the County Administrative Officer. Wow, wait, that's a mouthful. Jay.
This is the final step in completing the requirements for CalPERS to bring some of the SEIU represented employees into the safety retirement section.
Okay. Any questions from supervisors?
No, I would move to waive the full reading, read in title only, and adopt the ordinance entitled an ordinance of the Board of Supervisors of the County of Del Norte authorizing amendment to the contract between the County of Del Norte and the Board of Administration of CalPERS.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, Tony, could you please poll the vote?
Supervisor McNamer?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Finnegan?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan?
Yes. With that item, we are now going to conclude the meeting, and we will adjourn until the next meeting.
That was the shortest long meeting I've ever been at.